So this is Group 6's presentation on mining and corporate social responsibility, covering the Scotbar Proprietary Limited case analysis. The group members include Jen and George, Brad Klinkner, Casey Lundberg, Michael Neal, and Emily Satterfield. In this presentation, we will cover Scotbar's approach and the triple bottom line, Scotbar's influence on mining practices, the effects of intellectual property on sustaining business practices, and finally we'll finish up with the SWOT matrix.
Scotbar's approach of the triple bottom line in regards to the people, planet, and profits were different among other mining companies because of their prioritization to the people and society as a whole. Alan Payne made it known that Scotbar was a company that looked out for the people and society, and an example of this was during the flash flood of 2001 in Toowoomba, Australia. Scotbar gave up their time, money, and resources to help those in need during the flood. One of their main ideologies is that they followed was to minimize the environmental damage of mining rather than eliminating it as a whole, knowing that mining is necessary for the community in terms of construction improvement projects. Scotbar was known to put the people and the planet before the profits. They took part in research and development projects for various materials, mining methods in order to improve society. This brought about high upfront costs, but with the potential to pay off in the long run for the people, the planet, and Scotbar's profit margins.
So sustainability is very important in the mining industry as we depend on mining to provide the minerals and materials that we use for so many products every single day. Some of the negative and harmful effects of mining include deforestation, destruction of habitats, soil erosion, disruption of watershed, pollution, and waste. We know that from the case that Scotbar has taken many positive actions in their mining activities in order to combat these negative effects of typical mining. He really has a goal of 100% utilization, as we've learned that typically only 20% of the materials mined are actually used. Scotbar has also not imposed any patents on his mining practices, on his pilot plants, and actually is kind of hoping that the competitors will take their sustainable processes and use in their industry because he knows that they're better for the environment and as really humanity as a whole, so we can sustain our environment while still getting these materials from the earth. Scotbar really was sure to use their monetary capital to spend on the high quality of material and really place an importance on efficiency and sustainability rather than profits. So while Scotbar is doing their part in engineering some efficient practices and mining processes, there are some other things that are needed from the associated parties to really have a substantial influence on the long-term sustainability of mining practices. This includes continued research and development by everyone in the industry. Customers must be willing to try something new, to take that step of faith and go with a product they maybe haven't used before but is much higher quality, and really to pay that extra money for those higher quality products that won't need to be torn up and rebuilt. Um, and lastly, the competition, who are also using some of Scotbar's processes, really need to not cut corners. As you know from the case, this led to a government ban on the use of sandstone because of issues with similar companies cutting corners. So if we have all of these three things, these three elements, these three parties working together, that's really what will make this mining process sustainable.
Intellectual property plays a huge role in sustainable business practices. Scotbar innovation consisted of two main sustainable business practices, which included producing sand from sandstone and creating a lighter, stronger, and more cost-efficient sandstone tile. Both of these sustainable practices led to multiple benefits, including cost savings, reduction in waste, and removal of dependency on scarce natural sand. The intellectual property of these two practices helped Scotbar reach their goal of 100% utilization and reuse of all materials while also providing an advantage versus their competition. Scotbar ultimately decided to not pursue patents and copyrights due to the significant cost and time requirements. Overall, we agree with their decision as Scotbar's number one goal was to reach 100% reuse and utilization, and they wanted the mining industry to reach the same level, and they viewed a patent as an inhibitor to this goal.
So under the SWOT matrix, we talk about the SO strategies, the WO strategies, the ST strategies, and the WT strategies. Under the SO strategies, we talk about continue revenue growth by developing a product that can be utilized in construction developments. We also talk about adding more variation in tiling products, globally expanding manufacturing technologies and sales, and also promoting products to customers and developing customer loyalty through a strong product. Under WO strategies, we talk about adhering to government regulations, working with global providers to produce a cheaper product without affecting quality, and targeting a more commercial market rather than just construction. Under ST strategies, we talk about continuing to invest in R&D and utilizing findings of other companies, decreasing development timeframe for future products, generating funding through other avenues besides personal capital, and developing more than one product or innovation at a time. Under WT strategies, we talk about creating customer discounts for things such as large orders, new customers, and creating a customer loyalty program, focusing on the greatest revenue generating product, and patenting innovations to create an advantage against their competitors.